We are at the Clean Energy Research Center at the University of British Columbia, and we're going to talk about this book, which actually looks at energy alternatives. Can you imagine a world where a small nuclear reactor is set up at a campus like this, for example, or a northern Canadian town, or a disaster zone to provide an alternate to fossil fuels? Seem like a practical idea? Well, we can ask the author of the book, Bob McDonald, the host of Quirks and Quarks. Hey, Bob.
Hi, Ian.
So let's talk about those small nuclear reactors. How practical an idea is that?
Well, actually, it's a very practical idea because small nuclear reactors have been powering aircraft carriers, submarines, big icebreakers for years, and they're actually quite safe. And it's a very different way of looking at nuclear energy. We're used to in Canada to building these big multi-billion-dollar facilities that take years and they go over budget and people get worried about them. These new reactors are about the size of this little counter here that's beside me. It's got a big casing around it, but you can put it on the back of a flatbed truck. And you put them underground. You don't put them on the surface. You put them underground, and they produce just enough power to power a small town.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and your book is really good at setting this out. The science may say that it works and it's really easy and that it is relatively safe, and you go into that in detail. But it's more than science when it comes to looking at some of these fuel sources. And the idea of powering, let's say, this campus by nuclear energy, I don't think everyone would like that.
And that's a point I make throughout the book, is that as we move to alternative clean energy, it's not just a scientific issue. It's a social issue, it's a political issue, it's an economic issue, and all of those things have to come together. But the reason I wrote the book is to just say, look, the technology is already out there. It already exists. And we just need to come together to make it happen, and I believe we really can.
So you went through 9 or 10 potential alternates to fossil fuels. I'm going to ask you, give me the top 2 or 3 in terms of practicality, things that you think will actually make a big difference in the short term.
Well, the two big ones that are taking over in other parts of the world are wind and solar, and there's a lot of research going into both of them. Wind turbines have gotten gigantic. The largest one in the world right now stands 260 meters tall. That's almost the height of the Eiffel Tower. It's 2.5 times higher than the Peace Tower in Ottawa and our Parliament buildings. These things are so gigantic that one of them can power 16,000 homes. A single turn of the blade produces enough electricity to power a house for 2 days. So instead of having entire fields of these things, you can have just a few of them now. That's the future of wind. And a lot of them will be offshore rather than taking up land. Solar, in some parts of the world, is now cheaper than coal. When you say how much does it cost to make the electricity per kilowatt hour, it's cheaper than coal. And you probably think of these big farms that cover a lot of land, and people say, well, that could be used for agriculture. Okay. There's another class of materials called Perovskites that you can print. You can print them on a thin sheet of plastic or fabric or glass. And there's an idea that you put these things, you can see through them, so you put them on windows. They still generate electricity. And you think about all the surface area of the glass buildings that we have in our big cities. If they were all solar, that's a huge area that can be generating electricity for the building. In India, they're putting them on canals instead of putting them out in farmers' fields. So solar is really changing a lot. And you're going to see solar technology in places you don't even know it's there because it's incorporated into part of the building.
I shouldn't be surprised because you're all about excitement and optimism when it comes to science, but you do seem excited and optimistic. And those are two things I don't often hear when people talk about where we're at in terms of the climate crisis and where we're at in terms of alternate fuels.
Well, that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is because I've been reporting on the environment since the 1970s. And it gets depressing after a while because all the news is bad. And the emissions keep going up. Despite all these United Nations conferences we have, the emissions are still going up. So I wanted to try to inject a little hope that, yeah, there are solutions out there and we can get on with them. And if we have a positive attitude and say, okay, what do we need to do? Let's do that instead of coming up with reasons why not to do it. And you don't want to get polarized about it. You don't want to say, oh, the bad oil industry and the good tree huggers, because then everybody digs in and nothing happens. So let's cooperate with energy production, energy storage. There's a lot of work going on there, new batteries, making our cities more walkable, more efficient. There's so much that can be done, and that's why I put it all into there. It is possible, and I have faith in our ingenuity. You know, we went to the moon, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
We can do this.
One last thing, I learned a little bit about you in this book that I wasn't expecting. You know, I kind of think that radio show hosts, like I am on Sundays, lead pretty sedentary lives, but not you. You talk about swimming in an underwater tunnel and kind of getting stuck there for a little longer than you thought, getting stuck in the reversing falls on a boat, but also in a gale in Florida that kind of had you nervous for a while.
I put those stories in to illustrate the energy in the different things like wind, like waves, and like tides. And yeah, I've had a few adventures with wind. You know, we've been capturing wind for centuries, and I'm a sailor, so I had one day down in Florida and a thunder squall came along, and I hadn't experienced them before. They come really, really fast, and I had too much sail up. And you can't have too much wind. And it was like an invisible hand just came and pushed my sails into the water. And the boat went right over on her side, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done here? And I got out of it, but it did demonstrate to me just how much energy is in the wind. So we can capture that. And the swimming thing, I wanted to snorkel underneath this big rock, but there was such a huge surge, it was in the ocean, that I only got halfway through, and then the wave came back the other way and stopped me. And I realized I'm not going to get out. Then I took the next wave in. But again, energy in waves and energy in the tides. More energy falls out of the sky every hour than we use in a year. So it's there. There's all this. There's no energy crisis. There's lots of energy around. We just need to gather it up.
I guess one last thing I would say is that at the end of this interview, I gotta say, I'm gonna get into a car and head from UBC back to downtown Vancouver. It's gonna serve me very well. And even though I know all the stats about climate change, it's easy to kind of accept the status quo.
And if we accept the status quo and keep going the way we are, the cost in the long term is going to be greater than if we do something like you still get in a car, but it's an electric car. And the energy for that, the electricity for that car is coming from a whole variety of sources, not just one. And so that we can still keep our lifestyle, we just do it slightly differently. Or maybe you'll be getting on an e-bike and bicycling downtown.
A lot of people are.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. It's not a matter of going back to the caves or the trees. We can still keep our lifestyle. It's just we're just generating our energy in different ways and using it in different ways. And the technology's there. Let's embrace it.
I don't often get a chance to talk to you for this amount of time. It's been really fun. Thank you.
My pleasure, Ian. It's been great.